Have you ever reached a point in your life where you honestly didn't know what to do next? Not because you were lazy and not because you lacked ambition. You simply couldn't see the next step. I think almost everyone reaches that place eventually. Sometimes it's deciding on a career, sometimes it's a relationship, sometimes it's wondering whether to stay where you are or start over somewhere else. When we're in those moments, we usually believe we have one job: figure it out, make a decision, choose the right path. But over the years, I've started wondering if that's the wrong goal. I've had conversations with several people over the years who found themselves in that exact place. One of them had no idea what direction to take. Should it be college, a job, the military? None of those options felt clearly right. He wanted certainty before he could make a commitment. The problem was, certainty wasn't coming. So instead of asking, what should you do for the rest of your life, I suggested a different question. What could you do that would help you learn something you don't know today? Maybe get a job. Not because it had to become your career, but because you discover what you enjoyed and what you didn't. Maybe take a class or two. Not because you had to commit to a degree, but because you might discover an interest that you never expected. The goal wasn't making a permanent decision. The goal was gathering information. Over time, the fog started to lift. Not because he suddenly had all the answers, but because each experience taught him something he couldn't have learned by standing still. Now, another conversation I had went a little differently. This person already knew where he wanted to end up: graphic design. The problem wasn't the destination, it was figuring out how to get there. Should he go to school, start a business? Should he wait or jump in? Again, there didn't seem to be a perfect answer. So instead of trying to answer all of those questions, I asked a few different ones. Do you need to make money right now? If you start a business tomorrow, would you have a portfolio that you could show people? What information might you be missing? Those questions changed the conversation. Instead of choosing between school and business, he ended up taking an internship. Not because it solved his future, but it helped him understand it. He discovered which parts of graphic design energized him and which ones didn't. Then he started learning those specific skills. Now today, he still doesn't know every step ahead, but he does know what the next one is. And sometimes that's enough. I think one of the biggest mistakes we make is believing that we have to know where we're going before we're willing to take the very next step. But life rarely works out that way. Clarity often comes after movement, not before it. And I'm not talking about rushed movement. I'm talking about purposeful movement. Movement that teaches you something. Now looking back, those two conversations taught me something. Neither person found clarity by sitting still and trying harder to think. They found clarity by engaging with reality. One discovered it through different jobs and classes. The other discovered it through an internship and building a portfolio. Different paths, but the same principle. Clarity comes from engaging with reality, not from endlessly thinking about it. Sometimes that means taking a job to discover what you enjoy. Sometimes it means waiting long enough to see if something becomes more clear. Sometimes it means having one more difficult conversation. And sometimes it simply means refusing to force an answer before you're actually ready. Each one engages with reality. Each one teaches you something. Maybe that's why I've started asking a different question. Not what should I do, but what can I do that helps me understand my situation better? Because understanding usually comes before confidence. It's not the other way around. So what do you do when you don't know what to do? Maybe you don't need to figure out the rest of your life today. Maybe you only need to take the next step that helps you see a little farther than what you can see right now. You don't need the whole map. Sometimes the next step is enough.